and welcome to our Spotlight on Careers event. On behalf of the Saskatoon Industry-Education Council, I'd like to welcome you to our Career Pathways panel in Business and Finance. We acknowledge we are on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. I would like to take this opportunity to thank RBC Future Launch for sponsoring our Spotlight on Careers event. Their support is vital in providing programming like this for students, and we're very grateful for their support. We welcome the students, parents, and teachers across Saskatchewan joining us tonight. For the past 2 decades, the Saskatoon Industry-Education Council has bridged the gap between Saskatchewan school systems and employers, providing experiential learning and career development opportunities for Saskatoon and area youth. As a registered nonprofit organization, the SIEC works in partnership with 3 school divisions and the Saskatoon Tribal Council, as well as community-based organizations, government agencies, and employers to help nurture the workforce of tomorrow. Last year, the SIEC worked with over 29,000 youth, over 1,300 business and post-secondary representatives, and more than 600 educators and career practitioners. We host over 40 programs and events each year, including our skills boot camps, which provide experiential learning opportunities for students in various career paths. Spotlight on Careers, which are events such as this, which provide students with an insight into various career paths. Connected, our women mentorship program, connecting high school females with mentors from a wide variety of sectors in Saskatoon, as well as our summer youth internship program, which is a 6-week paid internship where students gain work experience in construction, manufacturing, automotive, culinary, and IT industries. Students earn competitive wages and high school credits. Visit our website or follow us on our socials to stay up to date with our program offerings. At the SIEC, we feel it's just as important to find out what you do not want to do as it is to discover what you do want to do as a career path. So if you're not sure what you want to do after high school, we recommend you attend a few of our events or check out our past events on our website to discover various career options. We encourage you to utilize the Q&A function throughout our event this evening and take some time to ask questions and get to know the mentors and hear if they have anything that you want to hear more of. Make sure you use that Q&A function. I want to thank our panelists who have volunteering their time to share their stories with us this evening. We're fortunate to have such great partners who give their time to share their stories and guide youth through their career exploration. So first off, we are going to start with Dr. Keith Willoughby. Dr. Keith Willoughby was born and raised in Melfort, Saskatchewan. He is the Dean of the Edwards School of Business and a professor in the Department of Finance and Management Science. He teaches courses in quantitative methods. His research interests include public transportation systems, sports analytics, and healthcare process improvement. He has developed a spreadsheet model to predict the winners of the Canadian Football League games. The model also calculates each team's probability of winning the CFL's Grey Cup. The results are regularly featured on the CFL website. His model has correctly predicted the Grey Cup champion in 6 of the last 7 Grey Cup games. Very impressive. He is a season ticket holder for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and is eagerly anticipating the return of the CFL action. Despite suffering the elementary school horror of striking out playing t-ball, he eventually regained his athletic composure by obtaining a hole-in-one in golf. He hopes to live long enough to see the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, Keith, but we're happy to have you here this evening, and we're happy that you're able to share your story with us. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. And I'm going to share my screen right now. Just one second. Well, Michelle, thank you for that introduction. And I'm delighted to be here with everyone this evening. And I echo Michelle's sentiments. There is no such thing as an unimportant question. I encourage all your questions tonight. So I'm going to talk to you about my career path specifically, and also provide some information about the Edwards School of Business. I believe that information is quite important for the youth and high school students who are joining us tonight, as well as parents and any guidance counselors or teachers. So this is a message that I'm sure my fellow participants will be providing in the panel this evening. Career paths are like a winding road. It's never perfectly straight. There are always going to be those ups and downs, those peaks and valleys that happen. So when you're planning your future as a high school student right now, if you're thinking what you want to do down the road, remember the path is never totally linear. There's always going to be those ups and downs that happen. In fact, my first career goal, way back as a 7-year-old young boy in Melfort, Saskatchewan in 1973, I wanted to be the quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And that's a picture of me trying to hold a football there, trying to look athletic as a 7-year-old. Now, that goal never materialized. I had limited athletic ability, but what happened when I was young, especially in elementary school, I loved mathematics. And later when I was in high school, I really liked high school algebra. And then everything came to fruition when I was in university and I found out about Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. So this whole notion of being fascinated by math and then learning about algebra and then spreadsheets really helped to cement my career. Now, I am as Michelle mentioned, I am the Dean of the Edwards School of Business. I'm a professor in the Edwards School of Business, but I've had other job titles along the way. I worked in the insurance industry as a policy management administrator. When I was in Vancouver as part of my master's degree at the University of British Columbia, I worked as an analyst for BC Transit in the public transit area. I worked as a research assistant. And in healthcare, I worked as an operations research specialist. So the title I have right now is not the only title I've had in my profession. Again, I've had those curves and those ups and downs that have happened. Now, why do I really like being a professor? What's the real benefit there in terms of that career path for me? Well, 3 things. And I think number 1 is what we're doing tonight. The ability to meet people in the community, even in this virtual environment, to have the opportunity of sharing stories, of meeting individuals. It's one thing I really enjoy with my particular career. I also enjoy the teaching function, and I'm delighted to do that in the Edwards School of Business. And Michelle also mentioned my research interests. So I'm quite involved in sports analytics and in healthcare. So if you ever see the movie Moneyball, that's sort of the research I like to do, and especially I like to do it with the sport of football. Now, in terms of the day of life of being a professor, there are some great moments and some not so great moments. Now, you might think of a professor as an individual. You think of me in terms of business suit there standing in front of the students. Well, that's one part of my profile. And the other part is helping to raise money. And the picture on the right was a few years ago. We have an organization in our business school called JDC West, which is a student business case competition. They raise money each year by having people pledge money to jump into these freezing pools of water. And I did that a couple of years ago before COVID, dressed in a business suit, and it was quite a refreshing experience. The Edwards School of Business, I want to give you a little bit of information about that because I know that we have some parents, some guidance counselors, some students joining us tonight. The Edwards School of Business is home to about 2,500 students at the University of Saskatchewan. Now, during the pandemic, we are delivering our classes remotely, but we look forward to the day, hopefully in the near future, when we can be back delivering classes in person. That's a picture of one of our resource rooms in the Edwards School of Business where students can congregate. We also have within our business school the Gordon Rawlinson Finance and Trading Room, which is the first of its kind in Saskatchewan. It houses 16 Bloomberg terminals, which are the state-of-the-art software for doing investment analysis and financial market transactions. We were delighted to open this even in a virtual environment. We had a grand opening session and look forward to having this used productively when we're back to in-person instruction. Even now, when we're in remote delivery, the Bloomberg terminals are being used by our students. So those of you who have a finance interest, I think you'd be well served by the opportunities at the Edwards School of Business for using this finance and trading room to really explore those finance and business type careers. I like to call it the Edwards advantage. What are the, in my mind, maybe 3 bullet points that are really important and impressive about the Edwards School of Business in terms of the programs that we offer? We have a business cooperative education program. In fact, right now, even in the midst of a pandemic, we have over 110 students in their 3rd year of university that are doing cooperative education programs, 8-month positions, jobs that they have with real Saskatchewan organizations. Our students operate a portfolio trust that right now has over $2 million in it. This is real money that the students invest in the stock market. They obtain great financial returns as well as great educational returns in the great work that they do. We also have tremendous success with our entrepreneurship projects. We've had students in our university and our business school who have had their entrepreneurship projects funded on CBC's Dragon's Den. And those are great examples of seeing how students can turn great ideas into great businesses. We're also delighted to indicate here in terms of what happens with respect to an Edwards School of Business graduate. This is the latest of our statistics that we've gathered. So of those looking for work, nearly 90% of our Edwards School of Business students are employed. For those who are employed, 87% are employed in the province of Saskatchewan. So there's great opportunities here in our province for our Edwards School of Business graduates. In terms of the top 3 industries that our students typically would be addressing in their careers, the public accounting is our top, followed by banking and finance, and 3rd, technology. So I know that tonight's panel is about finance and business pathways. Those pathways are quite well represented within our Edwards School of Business graduates. So I want to ensure that my other panelists have sufficient time to present their material. So let me just finish maybe with one more example here. You remember that boy from 1973, Melfort, Saskatchewan, who wanted to play football for the Saskatchewan Roughriders? I may not have played football, but I did get on TV when I was captured in the stands in the old Mosaic Stadium in the 2013 season. So remember, hey, your dreams may come true. They may have a nonlinear path, but eventually you can reach your destination and your goal. So thank you for your time tonight. Thank you, Michelle, for the invitation to participate. I look forward to addressing your questions and comments after. Thank you and have a great evening.
Well, thank you so much, Keith, for sharing your career journey with us and sharing some information about Edwards. Now I know when I'm betting on next year's Grey Cup, I know who to give a call to. So it was very interesting to hear. I also have a love for spreadsheets, so that was close to my heart. I didn't know there were other people out there like that. All right, so we are going to move on with our panelists. Next up, we have Sarah Wheelwright. She's an immigrant, marketing maverick, entrepreneur, public speaker, and community supporter, and has been immersed in marketing and business since 1992. Trusted opened its doors in 2011 with the launch of TrustedSaskatoon.com. TrustedRegina.com launched in 2012, followed by Trusted Marketing Services, a full-service Saskatchewan marketing agency in 2014. The company has won multiple awards locally, provincially, and nationally. There is nothing that satisfies Sarah more than promoting and helping local, reputable businesses succeed and achieve their business goals. She believes in transparency, honesty, and adding value. Sarah is the recipient of several awards, including the Saskatoon YWCA Women of Distinction Award for Entrepreneurship, the Strida NEYA Award for Entrepreneurship, and the Stevie Award Canadian Female Entrepreneurs. Sarah is currently serving as a director on the board of the Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce. So please welcome Sarah.
Hello, everybody. I just want to introduce myself and thank you very much, Michelle, for doing a super job. So when Michelle asked me to be part of this panel, I really kind of, looked at what I could be contributing. When I looked at the list of people that I was going to be listed along with, such as Keith from the Edward School of Business, who seems to have, and I guess he's told a little bit of a different story, a pretty straight path to success in entrepreneurship. My path was not quite so straight and not quite so easy. As you probably discern by this point, I'm not your typical Canadian. So I emigrated from the UK to Canada in 2006. And at that time, I came with a young son, my ex partner, I have another 2 children, and arrived on the shores of Saskatoon and in Saskatchewan, looking for an adventure and starting a new life. And I would never have thought here, 15 years later, I'd been running a business, my own business, for the last 10 years, and that it would be a marketing business, that we would have won the awards that we have, that I've made the connections that I'd have. And you can't plan some things. And, people often ask me, why did you emigrate? And, I just wanted to take the risk, and I felt it was the best thing for the family. And I'd been to Canada a few times before, and I liked the place, and I felt that I had enough background and enough business experience. I've been in the pharmaceutical industry, I've been in the marketing industry, that Saskatchewan offered an opportunity for me. So we landed in 2006, and I got a job pretty quickly within the marketing world, within the radio broadcasting industry, with Rolco actually. And I did sales there for 5 years. I had my twins, who are now 13. And something just kept on eating away at me. And when I first arrived here in Saskatchewan, I will say that Canada was a little bit behind the UK when it came to online and websites and things like that. And when I first arrived, I found it quite difficult as a newcomer to actually get all the things that I needed. So it kept on niggling at me in the back of my brain, that there was an opportunity here, but it doesn't seem a very smart thing to do, to leave a good career and start your own business when you don't really have any business experience. And quite frankly, it's not a good time. And when I went through a separation with my ex and the father of my kids, I was there as a single woman with 3 children under the age of 6, in a place where I had no family as support. And that to me was the ideal time to start my business. So this is one of the takeaways that I want to share with you. There's never the right time. If you wait for the right time for anything in your life, then you'll continue to keep waiting. You have to take the bull by the horns. In the case of me, the reason I started my business was because I was so terrified that somebody else would have my idea and I would kick myself for the rest of my life. So it seemed absolutely reasonable for me to risk everything that I had financially to start my business. So I started my directory business. I started with my kitchen table. There was me. I used to say we when I was sending emails and things like that, because it sounded more, and started off, following my passions and really believing in something. To be successful in business, whether you are a new grad, and I actually have had several interns from the Edward School of Business come to work for me, and it's been a wonderful experience. But you have to be really ready to work very, very hard. And I think that's the first thing. And that's something that I try to tell my children and everyone that works for me. If you're just going to turn up at 9:05 and leave at 4:55, you're going to get what you're going to get. And being an entrepreneur and starting a business, having 3 children, that were very demanding, I probably was working 80 hours a week. And most of that was kind of around the times that I had my other responsibilities. So I didn't have much time for anything else. And I had to do that for years and years and years. But eventually, with hard work and effort, that has paid off. Right now, I'm sat in the Old Hotel doing a VIP experience with one of my clients, who's Jen Sharp from Flat Out Foods. And myself and a friend are here, and we're having a wonderful time celebrating clients. We have a client base from the marketing agency who are politicians, who are in the ag world. We do everything from videos to websites, to animation, to designers. I have 10 employees and about 150 clients, across the province of Saskatchewan and beyond. And the reason that this all came about was hard work, diligence, finding the right people, I certainly do not know everything. And in fact, in many places, I have people that work for me that know a lot more than I do. And it's okay. It's okay. I can be the boss and still ask for advice and ask other people that work for me to look over, my work to see if it's good enough to send to clients. So having that ability to understand that you don't have to know everything, but what you do have to know is what you want. And I would always say, if you have a passion, it's going to make everything that you do so much easier. It's going to make working hard so much easier. And it's just going to bring joy to your life. And whether your path to success is a straight line, or whether it's a very, very curvy line with lots of mistakes on the way, like mine was, I certainly think that passion and hard work will help you get there. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us this evening and sharing your story with us. I know we'd heard about your career path in the past, but we are so excited for you to be able to share that story with all of the attendees tonight and anyone who's watching this after. And you said a few things that I was jotting down, and I know you mentioned there's never a good time, and that goes with so many things in our life. We say, oh, I'll do that when this is better. I'll do this when I have more money. And I think COVID taught us that as well, that there isn't always going to be a better time. And sometimes the best time is just right now, and we have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. You also mentioned passion, and I think that's so important as well. And we hear that in all of our panels is find something you're passionate about and try to turn that into your career. It helps make everything seem worth it. It gives you direction. It gives you something to focus on as you are in those difficult times. So thank you so much for sharing with us. And if anyone has questions for Keith or for Sarah, be sure to put them in the Q&A function and we will answer them later on in the evening. So moving on, we are going to hear from Tammy Moyes. She has over 25 years experience as a supply chain professional in a variety of industry sectors, including construction, technology, manufacturing, warehousing, and the public sector. While pursuing her career aspirations, Tammy completed her business administration, certified professional public buyer designation, CPPB, supply chain management professional, SCMP, designation, and professional leadership certificate. Tammy has been blessed with 2 beautiful children and 3 beautiful grandchildren. Tammy was born and raised in Saskatchewan on a farm near Sedley, Sask. From 2000 to 2012, Tammy moved to Alberta and then returned back to Regina to be near her family. Tammy's interests include traveling, exercise, golf, camping, watching her grandchildren play sports, and most of all, being around her family and friends. So please welcome Tammy to our event.
Thank you, Michelle. And I can relate to Sarah about not having a straight path about where I was going for my career, but as a supply chain professional, as Michelle said, of over 25 years, when I first started out with my career, I didn't really have a clear vision into what I was going to do for the remainder of my years going forward. So coming from a small town, we didn't have the advantage of a career day or a career counselor, and I'm about to date myself. So I had a few choices, and knowing I grew up on the farm life was my life at the time. So I decided to play it safe, going out into the big world. And at the time it was called SIEC. So I attended SIEC to become a secretary. So that started the path out for me when I started working at a Crown corporation, where I eventually landed up in the purchasing department. Now you ask, the purchasing department, what is that? Although I was in the administration position, the work intrigued me with how large the organization was and how many goods and services they procured for the industry and all the different processes and different requirements that needed to make sure they got what they want and it was accurate. Working with hundreds of vendors and doing actual competitive process to procure all these goods and services, and then eventually signing a contract. In those days, the education available to us for the supply chain was through what we called Purchasing Management of Canada, PMAC at the time, and now it's known as Supply Chain Canada. As I was intrigued to follow this path, I quickly learned I needed a prerequisite for business admin, which led me down the path where I needed more education than what I had. So back to SIAS I went and started my journey of evening classes for the next 10 years in order to continue down the supply chain and the procurement route. So I couldn't go back to school full time because at that time I was a single mom and I still needed my day job to support myself and my children. So as I worked through procurement and decided to venture out to gain more experience in warehousing, manufacturing, technology industry, and freight forwarding in the supply chain industry to get a better understanding. And most of that time, I decided to do some of that experience in Alberta, which I ended up staying a lot longer than I expected, of 12 years, but I don't regret a minute of it, and decided to come back home. So through these positions in different roles, it was then I knew how big supply chain industry really was, the thousands of jobs it creates, and how it impacts the economy overall. So as I put those pieces together, only then did I really understand what I wanted to do, and back to where I started, and that was in the public procurement area where I could be part of a bigger picture and actually serve my community. So the position I'm in right now allowed me to make a difference to serve my community by being the advocate to getting the best value for the taxpayers' money. It also allowed myself and my team to think outside the box, and we collaborate with so many people, whether it's vendors or the rest of our organization, to really understand their needs. And the most exciting part is we get big, amazing projects to work on, like the Mosaic Stadium, which is the highlight of my career. So, Keith, I can really understand how you enjoy the Riders, because I got to build the stadium that you now hopefully will return to soon. These types of projects to help procure and bring into reality provides a vision and a sense of accomplishment that not all people get to experience. The sense of accomplishment to serve the community is very rewarding for me. I would consider these to be definitely the pros for myself as I continue to really enjoy the work I'm in. I'm a very passionate procurement supply chain professional, and everybody continues to tell me that. The downside of this procurement process is we have agreements, trade agreements and bylaws and all the different regulations that follow, and the process takes a little longer than most people have patience for. So given the different projects, any procurement project, it may take up to 6 months in order to get what we need for a service or good. And that all really depends on the type of method we use to procure. So if you're not familiar with procurement, we have requests for proposals or requests for quotes or supplier qualifications, and those are only a few of the tools that we get to use when we go out to get a good or service. So my current job as the manager of procurement and supply chain at the City of Regina gives me the privilege to be responsible for a team of about 25 people. So in this position, I look after the procurement team as well as the warehouse or the supply chain team. And some of the positions within this team, you could be looking at a purchasing clerk, purchasing agent, senior purchasing agents, contract and procurement specialists, purchasing coordinators, inventory controllers, sales and salvage officers, fuel systems officers, warehouse associates. Those are just a few of the positions that I am responsible for, and we wear many, many different hats. So my team buys the goods or services, or they're part of a group that stores the goods in a central warehouse to make sure that we are able to provide supplies to the organization on a daily basis. We buy pens or build a mosaic stadium. So the skill set that we need as a group is extremely broad. And so at any time, we could be calling on a critical thinking outside the box, being collaborative. Also, because we deal with so many people, our soft skills are really important to develop as a career, because we need to be negotiators as well as influencers. So if this is of any interest in the broad spectrum that you need to become a procurement professional, or you have the option of the supply chain, which there's so many different facets of the supply chain. Again, it could be warehousing, it could be transportation, could be manufacturing, all which are key roles to our economy. So as I did the full circle from public procurement through the supply chain back to public procurement, the valuable skills that I acquired during that process, and it wasn't a smooth path all the way through, but it really helped me define what my passion was within the industry and where I can support other individuals who are trying to decide on a career path. And I am excited, and I could talk about this for hours, but I won't. But just know that there's lots of options out there for you, and I would be excited to answer any other questions around the supply chain industry. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tammy, for sharing your journey with us. And we're seeing a common theme tonight, and that's that your path, just like those that spoke before you, wasn't a straight line, and you've taken many different detours and routes along the way, and now you're, like you said, you've kind of gone full circle. So that's an interesting take on your career. Also, I like that you brought up soft skills, because that's something that we try to focus on a lot at the SIEC, is helping students develop those soft skills, or sometimes we hear them called like essential skills now. And that's so important for students to have in whatever career path that they do decide to go into. So if anyone has any further questions for Tammy, then be sure to put them in the Q&A, and thank you again. Next up, we're going to hear from Jesse Radu. He articled with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Calgary from 2000 to 2004, and since obtaining his CPA in Alberta in 2004, has worked with PwC in Halifax and now Saskatoon. Jesse became a partner in PwC's assurance practice in 2015. His portfolio of clients is fairly evenly split between private companies, nonprofits and charities, and First Nation governments and government business enterprise. Over his 20-year career, he has had the opportunity to provide a number of varied assurance and finance-related services to clients across Canada, and enjoys the large variety of experience that a career in public practice provides. So please welcome Jesse.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. One thing I was thinking as we move through the evening here is I really need to make my bio a bit more interesting going forward after hearing some of the others. So I'm going to work on that for next time, but I'll try and make up for it with the 5 minutes I have here. So thanks for having me. I just wanted to talk a bit about a career in public practice, a career in public accounting tonight. As Michelle mentioned in my intro, I've worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers or PwC, basically my entire career. So I grew up in small town Saskatchewan. When I was in high school, my kind of interests were football and drama until I discovered accounting, and then that became, my main career interest, and kind of took over a lot of what I thought about. So it's funny to me to hear others talk about spreadsheets and how they kind of attracted them, because it was the same thing for me in grade 10 when I took my first accounting class, and knew that that was what I wanted to do. So I went through the Edwards School of Business from 1997 to 2001, and then started my career in public accounting with PwC. So one of the things that when I think about kind of a day in the life in public accounting is, and I'm going to speak sort of in terms of pre-COVID, because for the last year, a day in the life has been a lot of working from home and a lot of virtual interaction. But what the 20 years before that had been was a lot of working with different clients and different businesses in the community. And that's the main thing about this career that continues to interest and attract me to this day, 20 years later. You really get to work with a lot of different people, a lot of different clients and businesses in the community, and you get a peek behind the curtain for how their businesses work, and kind of what makes them tick. And you learn a lot over that time, and gain a lot of firsthand business knowledge that you can apply to other areas of your life. So I think public accounting is seen as sort of a training ground. You go through Edwards School of Business, you get your degree, and then if you work for a public accounting firm, you continue to train and article for 3 to 4 years after that as you work towards your designation. But if you choose to stay in it even after that, you kind of continue to learn every year in your life. And that's what's kind of kept me interested and engaged for the past 20 years, is all those learning opportunities and those chances to interact with people. I think one of the pros of a career in public accounting, from my perspective, is really that variety. Like I mentioned, the chance to, any given day throughout the year, you could be working with a different client or set of clients. You could be out at their businesses, interacting with them, kind of helping them with their finances. So it is actually quite a bit of variety in your day-to-day. Never really doing the same thing from one day to the next, which for me again has been very engaging. One of the cons sometimes can be the amount of work, and I think no matter what career you're in, if you really apply yourself, you're going to end up working hard. I think in public accounting, there's definitely some rigor there and some structure, where there are certain times of the year where you are certainly working very hard to help your clients meet their deadlines and work with them. So, that can be one thing that people find challenging for sure. But again, for me, over the past 20 years, the pros have far outweighed any cons. So I'll maybe pause there and just make sure we have time for the other speakers to say their bit tonight before we get to the Q&A.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Jesse. And your comments at the beginning had me giggling, because my colleagues and I just had to write bios for a conference we're presenting in. And I think it's something that many people struggle with. So there's no judgment here. I think that your bio was just great. But thank you. And if anyone has questions for Jesse, then be sure to put them in the Q&A. Next up, we are going to hear from Riddell Genoway. She graduated from the University of Saskatchewan Edwards School of Business with a Bachelor of Commerce degree and a Master's in Business Administration. Riddell's work experience ranges from one end of the spectrum to the other, from corporate to entrepreneurial. She has worked in senior level HR roles within the manufacturing industry, ran a consulting business, taught classes at the Edwards School of Business, and is embedded in the construction industry as a partner with a local home building company. So please welcome Riddell.
There we go. Sorry, I'm not very tech savvy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I've been enjoying all of the speakers so far. I figured I know we only have a few minutes, so trying to keep this short and sweet, but a little bit about myself, like in a nutshell, I'd say I'm a cross between a corporate executive and an entrepreneur, and I'm kind of in the middle of two right now, and I enjoy them both equally. My whole mantra is that you never really know where you're going to end up. I went from working as a metal fabricator, like basically as a kid, as summer jobs in school, to now being a vice president of that company, like 15 years later, and no intentions of that. As well as going to university, trying to find a parking spot off the streets of Cumberland Avenue, to now having 5 houses going up that I've designed and am behind the scenes on building. So sometimes I just stop and think, like, how did I get here? Like, how did this all come to be and kind of work out? Not that it's all worked out in the end, but so I'll share with you some of my journey. Sounds like a lot of us are from a small town originally. So I'm from a small town as well, from a farm. There were seven people in my class. So I was pretty shy and pretty clueless to the world. Didn't know what I wanted to do out of high school. All I knew was I didn't like science and I didn't do well at it. I didn't want to be a teacher or a nurse. So I thought, I guess business is one of the other options. So right after high school, I moved to Saskatoon, to the U of S. So you can imagine going from a class of 7 people to like 300 in a class at times, not at Edwards, but in other classes, was kind of a shock to the system. I went into Edwards School of Business, the College of Commerce, right away. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I think my dad's dream was for me to be an accountant, but that sure as heck didn't happen. I ended up finding a passion in human resources. Just taking some HR classes at the university, it made me realize how people can really make or break a business, and like payroll and people are one of the biggest expenses with business. So having strategic systems in place to like create a culture and create a good place to work is really what makes a company successful. So I started my career in the HR world within a variety of manufacturing companies. And as much as, I mean, I was a pretty average university student. Actually, Keith was one of my professors, and I must say he was one of my favorites. I thought, like, once I'm done school, I'm glad I did it. It got me to where I needed to be, and like, oh, I don't need that anymore. But ironically, just a few years later, I'm like, well, there's a lot to learn. So I went back and did my master's through the Edwards School of Business, and that was really eye-opening to me. It taught me about strategy with business. It taught me about the importance of mission, vision, values, and how that really sets a company apart. And then ironically, I ended up teaching at the university for a little bit, some HR classes and employment law classes at Edwards School of Business. And that was one of the scariest things I've ever done. Public speaking is like, I'm still nervous to be on something like this tonight. So just getting out of my comfort zone was a huge thing I did for myself, and I'm so glad I did that. Then I started having a family. I thought, well, I'm going to be bored while on maternity leave. So I started doing consulting, HR consulting, leadership training, that sort of thing with small businesses. And that kind of took off. And I spent the last few years working with small businesses throughout the province, helping them with their HR systems and leadership training and some continuous improvement stuff, which led me and my husband to start a home building company, which seems random of, you know, what can someone like me offer to do the construction world. And a lot of those themes for me, from what I was learned in university, was how important strategy is, and mission and vision and values. So even with our home building company now, we invest a lot of time and energy in only working with people who align with our values. And we have a whole quoting process aligned with that we're picking people fit with us and who fit with our values and people we enjoy spending time with at the end of the day. And a lot of my HR training, I think, has really morphed in running a business and how that all can work out on that end of things. I do love spreadsheets as well, so I can relate to a lot of you guys. So even though human resources ended up being my passion, I spend a lot of time with our own business on the finance side of things, budgeting, designing, coordinating with trades and scheduling. So there's a lot of operations and finance that goes into that as well. So that my plan is to stick with home building at least for a couple of years, just getting our systems in order. And again, you never know what's going to come about. So actually, Decker approached me last summer and asked me if I would come join their executive team. And that's where kind of my lessons learned come in, is that you never know kind of what's going to come knocking on your door. And part of that is you have to be open-minded. You have to show people you can take initiative. I've realized communication skills and interpersonal skills, those soft skills that some have talked about, that's been a huge lesson learned for me, and just what companies need more so in general. Another lesson learned has been getting out of your comfort zone, always being on your best behavior, because you never know what's going to come out of it. And then taking the time to understand like your values that meshes with a company. So just at the end of this, all challenges you might face, whether I'll just share some of mine, like being in an HR role, having the ability to handle conflict is really key. You're going to face it every day, having to have difficult conversations and maybe telling people some things they don't want to hear. But there's good things to it as well, of coaching people and helping people grow. On the just general business side of things, I think it was one of you ladies had mentioned passion. Owning your own business, you have to be okay with working till midnight every night sometimes, working over the weekends, and just when you're passionate about it though, it doesn't feel like work, and that you're willing to invest that time in. So at the end, what I love about my career is, I guess, the corporate side of things. I really enjoy being part of a team and working together towards a common goal and growing a company. And it's exciting. You can't drive on Circle Drive without seeing a Decker trailer. So it is exciting just being a part of that, behind the scenes anyway. And then as an entrepreneur, it's exciting just, again, being in control of something and seeing it grow literally from the ground up, like home building, for example. So that's what I've got for tonight. So feel free to ask any questions at the end. Hope to hear from you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Rodell, for sharing your path with us. Once again, we're hearing that same theme, that you've had many different routes throughout your career already, and it's interesting to hear that you worked in different industries and you are currently working in different industries, doing different things in business. And I really liked your comment about being open to opportunity. So it's very similar to what Sarah had mentioned earlier. There's maybe never the right time or the best time for something, but you also don't know when an opportunity is just going to open up in front of you, and you need to be have your eyes open and be watching for those opportunities at all time. And like Rodell said, always on your best behavior. And that can be, today is Pink Shirt Day, so that can be how we behave when we are behind a computer screen, how we behave on social media, or how we behave in current jobs, because a lot of times that can help us in our future as well. So we are going to move on to our final panelist of this evening. Braden Glynn is 20 years old from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and a 2018 graduate from Tommy Douglas Collegiate. He is currently a third-year finance student completing his co-op work placement in the Edwards School of Business Undergraduate Services Office, working on various projects to support the office. Outside of school and work, he is an ice hockey official working games in the Western Hockey League and Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So please welcome Braden.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to everyone involved in organizing for having me on. I don't quite have the same credentials and years of experience as everyone else has talked, so it's been a good opportunity for me to learn some things as well. But hopefully, I can share a different perspective and add some value to the panel as well. So, as mentioned, I'm a third-year finance major at the Edwards School of Business. I also happen to be a fan of spreadsheets. That's something I've picked up in the last couple of years here at Edwards. So I'm a co-op student, like mentioned, doing my work placement in the Edwards undergraduate office. So it's been quite fascinating to see a lot of the different things that go on at the university. From a student's perspective, seeing these things kind of behind the scenes, it's really changed my perspective a little bit. And it's been exciting. So I look forward to another. I've completed about 2 months of that now, so I have another 6 months to go, and I'm excited for those next 6 months. And as mentioned, I work as a hockey official. I think that's an opportunity for me that I've developed a lot of different skills. Definitely a lot of those soft skills. There's a lot of different things I've found that I've learned from being on the ice that I've been able to transfer over into my my experience as a student and experience working. So from a student's perspective, in my last year of high school, I got a bit of a jump start on my degree, taking the Com 101 Early Start program, which I found it was a great opportunity to kind of learn some things before I actually graduated high school and get some experience taking the same university level course that first year students take, but actually in high school and earn some credit for that, both a high school credit and a university credit. So at the time, I knew I wanted to go into business, but I had no idea what major. So that course helped set me on a different path, or set me on the right path. But even after that course, I knew business was right for me, but I didn't know what major I wanted to choose. Going into my first and second year, I was even leaning marketing. And as a numbers person, you might not think marketing was the number one choice at the time, but it was. But after a few finance classes, it definitely changed my mind, and I think finance is the route I'm going down now. And I still have quite a bit of my career ahead of me, so there's plenty of opportunities for those winding roads and winding career paths that everyone's mentioned so far. But it's exciting. So kind of at the same time that I was choosing my major, I was applying to the co-op program, and I found that a lot of my friends who were former Edwards students or current Edwards students at the time, they'd all suggested the co-op program. So I did it, and it sounded like a great opportunity. And the professional development opportunities and the workshops, it's all led me to where I am now in in my role in the undergraduate office, as well as even here on this panel. It's opportunity I wouldn't have got without the co-op program. So that's it's been really good so far, and there's still more to go. As an Edwards student, I've really enjoyed my first 3 years here. It's the education I've received has been really good. I've learned a lot of things that I wanted to learn. A few things I never thought I'd want to learn, but they turned out to be very useful things as well. So there's lots of opportunities at Edwards that you could take advantage of. I certainly haven't taken advantage of as many as I probably should. So there's a lot of things that maybe going into that next year, next year, hopefully, if we can be back in person, that those are some more opportunities I can take advantage of. One thing I think is there's kind of a sense of identity as an Edwards student and an Edwards alumni that other colleges at the university don't necessarily have. And, I think that's a pretty cool thing. I hope I can take that identity, that good high standard that Edwards sets, and take it forward into my future career and learn or take some of the lessons learned here at this panel today and take them forward in my journey. So thanks to everyone for having me on and listening to me speak.
All right, well, thank you, Braden, for joining us this evening and being part of our panel. And I'm going to invite all of our panelists to rejoin us. And we do have some questions in the Q&A. And if anyone else has any questions they'd like to ask, then be sure to put them in there and we will try to get those answered for you. So the first question, and maybe Keith or Braden might want to answer this one, but it says, how do first-year students choose their major and when do you choose? Go ahead, Keith.
Actually, I'm going to defer to Braden. He's working in the undergrad office in the co-op program, so he's probably the closest person to be able to address that as a current student and a current co-op student. So go ahead, Braden.
Sure. So actually, in your first year, you don't choose your major. In your first year, you get experience seeing the different majors, whether that's through Com 101, where you take a look at the different majors, or through the different introductory classes. So you actually choose your major in the January of your second year.
Can I just say something, Michelle? You know, I have, I take a bit of pride in this. So we've had 3 interns, 2 from the Edward School of Business and 1 from a school in Lloydminster. And all of them have come in as either commerce students or accounting students. And after our internship, they've all switched to marketing.
Awesome. So if it were up to you, you would say for everyone just to go straight into marketing?
You know, I would just say don't limit yourself, right? I mean, you know, make sure that you do. I mean, you know, there's some wonderful opportunities that co-op students have, and what we heard from my experience as an employer having co-op students was that they thought that their internship was way cooler than people that interned at big businesses like the Co-op and KPMG, because we'd be playing golf in a golf tournament, they'd be out at a trade show, kind of, you know, doing stuff. That their role would change so much, because in a small business you got to wear all of these hats. And what I felt was, for me, getting an intern student, I didn't see it as slave labor. I saw it as an opportunity to really enhance a student's outlook on life. So I personally would be partnered with that intern student, and I wanted them to get all of the opportunity, not just as a marketing grad, but also to learn what it meant to be a business. I had them in conversations that I had with team members where I had to let them go. I showed them the bad, I showed them the good, everything. You know, so they had a full, and also bought them whiskey and when they were old enough, and showed them the high life of marketing as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Braden, for answering that from the Edwards perspective, and thank you, Sarah, for adding in your perspective. We have a question, I believe this one might be for Riddell, asking what kind of qualities make someone who is cut out for HR?
All right, that is a good question. The good qualities would be someone who can, the thing is, HR is a very gray area in an organization, but you also have to be a black and white thinker. So it's kind of an art and a science in itself of looking at things logically, but then also understanding the emotion in things. Another skill is like having that business mindset. I think part of why I wanted to get my MBA was a lot of what I would like read about HR was that HR folks were known, or one of their weaknesses in a company was that they never understood the business side. And I see a lot of people going into HR because they want to help people, but they end up leaving the field because it's not all about helping people necessarily. It is and it isn't, but it's still like putting your business hat on and thinking from an employee relations perspective. So skills in a nutshell, I guess, would be being able to handle conflict and be okay with it, being able to think black and white and in those gray areas. And then just having an open mind, like literally no day is the same. You're going to have all these challenges, and just being open-minded to take it on.
Awesome.
So I hope that helps.
Yes, no, that's awesome. Did anyone else have anything? Because I know a lot of you in your roles, you have a little bit of management or HR that you might look after. So does anyone else want to add anything to that question?
I think that I would say from a small business perspective that HR is sometimes one of the last things that comes into a business. I think that Riddell gives a wonderful example of how difficult it is, and certainly as a business owner, one of the most difficult thing is dealing with staff. For me, certainly I'm not a lover of spreadsheets. Apparently I'm the only person on the panel that isn't. So the first thing that I could do is I got rid of that stuff, and I gave it to a bookkeeper, and obviously you have to be still involved, but you can't just give it completely over. But HR has been an ongoing battle for me, and as Riddell said, like it's really difficult conversations, but in periods of uncomfortability, you grow as a person, you grow as a leader, you grow as a business owner. And if you have, I actually have an intern, kind of a person that did accounting at the HR, sorry, at the Edinburgh School of Business, and now works for me part-time as she's going to school to do medicine now. And she is my HR person, and she guides me. So again, you have to be humble to be a successful person. And that means that you're always learning, you're always trying to be better. And now my newest person that's been with us, that is part-time, that's going to school, is teaching me things about HR. But it's very, very important because it really helps you grow the business when you understand that dynamic of human that is really important in making business successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you for adding in, Sarah. We have a question, and I think we kind of talked a little bit about it when Braden asked about when you choose your major, but someone said, how do I choose what area of business to go into? So any advice for a student who's thinking of going into business, and how you could help guide them as they enter into that field?
I can start, Michelle. I think that's a really great question, and one that we get asked a lot by students in the business school. I think the concern is, don't feel that you're pigeonholed into a particular career from day one. I think in my mind, how you choose is choose your passion. Identify what really excites and interests you, because if a certain opportunity excites and interests you, I think that goes a long way to your quality of life. It goes a long way to you feeling engaged in your career. I think I look at the other panelists, and you can just see the excitement when they speak of the things they do, and that really carries you through the down times and the challenges. So pick your passion, and don't feel that don't feel that you need to simply follow what you think other people might be choosing, or simply follow the masses. Choose what really resonates with you, because it's your career, it's your perspective, it's your future, and it can be a really great, powerful opportunity when you choose correctly.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. We do have another question. What advice would you have for someone starting a new career in business, and what soft skills are important? So I know we've heard a few people mention those soft skills or essential skills. So how would you, what would you say to someone entering into the business world, and what soft skills should they really focus on?
I would say that soft skills are becoming more and more important. I'm an extrovert, and I would say that in this pandemic period, the soft skills have been way more important than the hard skills. And I think the introverts have been given the spotlight that they deserve. The talents, the designers, the developers, the spreadsheet lovers, they really have shone in this period, and they have got all of us through it. And so as much as Saskatchewan and Canada, for me, seems to be very focused, well, certainly when I first came, on hard skills, on team skills and sports skills. And don't get me wrong, I love that too. But sometimes, the kid that wasn't the star athlete, or wasn't the person that would step up and lead the speaking, wasn't necessarily the one that had the brightest shine on them. I think that that's changing because people are understanding that soft skills, I think, are going to become equal, if not better, as we go forward in this technological age. Watch out, the introverts are coming.
Yes, I'm the introvert in the group. And for me, what's really what I look for soft skills truly is a good attitude. If you have a good attitude and you're open to the possibilities of learning, thinking outside the box, being that team player, great attitude will get you in the door and down the path every single time. As you know, I have a big team. Conflict, HR issues seem to be ongoing, and those soft skills are really important to navigate those conversations. But unfortunately, you got to go through the tough stuff in order to get better at the soft skills, to hone that compassionate side and be understanding, but be tough when you need to be tough, right? And being able to get that point across and relate to them, whether it's on a personal note, or try to be that mentor and guide them to how to be that better person going forward, right? And help them, have their back, support them, unless they choose not to be supported. And then that's a different discussion, and that's a different HR issue. That's not something we want to go down, but it does happen. And unfortunately, you have to realize you can only do so much to help somebody with soft skills if they want to. So just be open, have a great attitude, and like I said, you'll get pretty far with that.
Thank you, Tammy. That's a comment that we hear a lot when we talk about soft skills with people, is that you can teach skills, but you can't teach attitude. And so going in with an open attitude, going in with a willingness to learn and a willingness to grow, I think that's something really important. And I'm glad you were able to touch on that. We have one last question that we're going to wrap up on, and then we'll let everyone go. But someone asked, how do you see your jobs changing because of COVID? So Sarah had kind of mentioned how the dynamic has switched between extroverts and introverts with COVID, but are there any other changes in your field that you see have changed already because of COVID, or you think will change in the future because of what the pandemic has done?
I'm going to jump into this one. I have half a team that works from home, the procurement side, and I have the other half that we go to work and have gone to work every day because we are considered an essential service. So going forward, I could see the business model that we fell into during COVID could actually stay that way. The only difficulty is you lose a bit of the people side, or the people aspect of it, where you can pop into somebody's office and have an ad hoc conversation, and be able to talk some things through, versus trying to get a hold of them on video chat.
Mm-hmm.
And like most of us already, we're zoomed out, we're video chatted out, and that's probably one of the last things you want to do at the end of the day. And so I don't see our business model changing from my group, other than the fact they will have the option to come in 1 or 2 days a week to reconnect with their teammates or be able to have in-person meetings again, which I feel is really important, especially on the procurement side if we have negotiations, right? It's much easier to read a room when you're in person than it is on a Zoom call, which you have to hone your soft skills and reading the video chat and body language if you can, which is even a more difficult task at hand. So for us, it definitely has changed for COVID, and I'm excited to see how our business model will actually fall at the end of the day.
Jesse, you had mentioned that you're all working from home, and do you see in the finance world, do you see that you'll be going back to the office full time? Do you think that that'll change, that there will be more of an independent work environment, or how will that change?
Yeah, I do think we'll continue to be remote going forward. Now that we've all learned, I think, in our business, in our industry, how practical it can be for us. So I think there will be people who return to the office and work mostly from there, but I think there'll be others who choose to be more flexible about where they work from. And again, I think in my job, I often tell people that I think we're a bit luckier than most, because I think that it's a lot easier to do your job as an accountant, as a finance professional from wherever you need to be to do it. So we're a bit blessed that way. I think the one thing I'll say, though, that we've all found to be quite important over the last 12 months is your self-discipline and your drive is quite important when you're working isolated and from home all the time, as opposed to if you're in an office with 40, 50 people. You're all there, you're all kind of working, you're all focused, but some of the things that I've had to be self-disciplined in a way I probably haven't had to since university, and doing all that self-study and doing all your projects from home. So that's, I think, a skill that's become really important, really holding yourself accountable.
I would like to step in there, because I would say that that's a really important point that Jesse said, because trust is everything. My business is trusted. That's what we name ourselves. So there's a high standard. And when I actually, apart from when the pandemic first hit and everybody had to work from home, now I allow my team to choose, if they wish to work up to 50% from home. And but with that, I had to sit down with the team and said, but with that becomes, you need to be communicating more. We need to know where you are. You need to be responsive. We have tools. We use office communication tools. We need you to respond within X number of minutes. You need to be there. And it's not that we don't trust you, but it's just that we need to know that you're taking this seriously. And as a small business, time is money. In every business, time is money, but especially in a small business, it can make or break. So again, it comes down to, really stepping up and stepping in. And if you're able to be an introvert and work from home and be more effective, which is what I'm finding, or if you are less effective as an extrovert. I mean, my son is in grade 11, and it's been a horrific experience for him to be online schooled. He's a procrastinator, and there's nobody to turn up to, and I've got to drag him out of bed in the morning and make him do these things. And it's really, really hard for people that don't have that necessarily get up and go. But you have to have that in a business role, and you have to have that communication, and you have to have that trust. Otherwise, you are going to be that only person that has to work in the office to be monitored by your boss, which you don't want. You don't want me to be your mother and your boss.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jesse and Tammy and Sarah, for answering that question. And I think that's going to wrap us up for this evening. So before everyone does log off, I want to thank our panelists, but I also have some thank yous that I'm going to go through as well. So thank you to the panelists for joining us this evening. I also want to thank our partners in helping to put this together. So thank you to Keith from Edwards School of Business. They've helped us with this panel, and we're doing another event with them tomorrow during the day, a business case prep workshop. So we're excited for that, for students to get exposed to the business industry as well. We want to thank our partners with Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools, Saskatoon Public Schools, Prairie Spirit School Division, and the Saskatoon Tribal Council. And I want to thank my colleagues who are behind the scenes and helping to make this event possible this evening. And thank you to everyone who tuned in to see this event either live or if you're watching after the fact. Thank you for taking the time, and we hope that you were able to learn from the professionals who shared their stories with us this evening. At the SIEC, we love to hear what you think about our events, and we are happy to get any feedback from you. So any students who participated in this event, either live or watched after the fact, take a few minutes, scan the QR code or visit the URL and fill out some feedback. We do offer great prizes, so you can win some Starbucks gift cards. So take some time, give us some feedback, and hopefully you'll win a prize. Also, any teachers who may be viewing this event, please give us some feedback as well. I want to encourage you to take the opportunity to explore the other careers that are the other careers and industries that we are highlighting throughout the year. So this month is business, finance, and entrepreneurship. So check out our website where we have other events and resources for you to view and participate in. And then coming up, we have 3 more months of exciting events, and we also have our past events that are on our website. So everything that we do either live or recorded, we post on our website and we have it there. So if there's an industry that you see on the screen that you haven't been able to participate in those events, then check out our website, and hopefully we'll see you at some upcoming events as well. And we want to encourage you to follow us. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter to stay up to date. Check out our YouTube channel and give us a subscribe, and you will stay up to date on all of our events that we post on there. And then also follow us. We have a blog where we have professionals who share their stories. We get career counselors to share some words of advice for students. And we also have blogs from students sharing their experiences with our events. So once again, thank you for being part of our event tonight, and we hope to see you again soon.